Good afternoon. I'd like to see the diamond set in the window display. Amara Johnson Al-Rashid enters Diamond Royale with the natural elegance of someone accustomed to luxury. Her hair is pulled back in a sophisticated chignon. She wears a discreet but clearly expensive cream blazer, and her impeccably manicured nails shine with nude polish. A discreet Hermes bag completes the look. Unfortunately, in America of 2025, episodes like this still happen daily. Successful black people continue facing automatic suspicion in luxury establishments, constantly having to prove they deserve to be there. What you're about to hear is more common than we'd like to admit. The salesperson, Brandon, looks up from the glass counter. There's an almost imperceptible pause while he evaluates her, from the discreet but expensive jewelry she wears to the bag that costs more than his salary. "Of course, ma'am. Which set specifically?" His voice is polite, but there's a coldness that wasn't there with the previous customer. "The pink diamond necklace and earrings, for an event tonight." Amara approaches the display case, observing the pieces with a knowledgeable eye. Brandon hesitates. "Those are special pieces, very valuable. The set costs $200,000. "Perfect." Amara nods calmly. "Can you set it aside, please?" The immediate response clearly surprises him. "Are you sure? It's a significant amount." Amara tilts her head slightly. "I'm sure. It's for the Arab Consulate charity dinner tonight." "Ah." Brandon processes the information. "You're attending the consulate event?" "I am." She doesn't elaborate, keeping responses short, a technique from the 48 Laws of Power that allows others to compromise themselves with their own words. At that moment, Michelle, the sales supervisor, approaches. She observes Amara discreetly, noting every detail of her appearance. "Brandon, everything okay here?" "The customer wants the pink diamond set," Brandon explains, with a tone suggesting disbelief. Michelle forces a professional smile. "I see. Ma'am, that set is one of our most exclusive pieces. I need to inform you that we require certain formalities for purchases of this value." "What kind of formalities?" Amara asks calmly. "Well, we would need to see pre-approval from your bank, or at least verify the card limit before removing pieces from the vault." Michelle speaks as if it's the most normal protocol in the world. Amara observes a blonde customer being served at the adjacent table. The woman is trying on a diamond ring, and no employee mentioned verifications or pre-approvals. "Is this standard for all customers? For purchases over $150,000? "Yes," Michelle responds quickly. "I understand." Amara takes her black card from her wallet. "You can verify it." Brandon takes the card, observing it with excessive attention. "International card. Interesting. Is there a problem?" Amara asks. No. It's just that..." Brandon examines the card as if it were a suspicious object. "Let's check the limit." He walks to the payment terminal, but instead of making the usual discreet verification, he calls Michelle. "Michelle, can you come here? I want your opinion on something." The two whisper while analyzing the card. Other employees begin paying attention. The blonde customer at the next table looks curious. "Ma'am," Michelle returns, "we'll need to call the bank to confirm some information." "Confirm what information?" Amara keeps her voice calm, but there's steel in her tone. "It's just that cards like this sometimes." Michelle doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication is clear. Amara takes a deep breath. She knows this game. She's been through it dozens of times. "Do whatever verification you need." "Great." Brandon returns to the terminal, but takes much longer than normal. "Just a minute." During the forced wait, Amara observes the store's movement. The blonde customer just bought a bracelet without any verification. Her cards weren't even questioned. "Ready?" Brandon returns, with an expression mixing relief and disappointment. "Everything's fine with the limit." "Good," Amara responds dryly. "Now can you bring the pieces?" Of course. Michelle goes to get the set from the vault. When she returns, the jewelry sparkles under the store lights. They're truly spectacular, Rare pink diamond set in white gold, a work of art that justifies every penny of the price. Beautiful, Amara comments, examining the pieces with technical knowledge. Botswana diamonds. Brandon blinks, surprised by her knowledge. Yes, how did you know? The cut and coloration are characteristic. Amara smiles slightly. May I try them on? Of course. Michelle helps Amara put on the necklace. In the mirror, the jewelry looks stunning. Amara truly looks like a queen, which in many aspects she is. Perfect. I'll take them. Perfect, then. Let's process the payment. Brandon takes Amara's black card and walks to the store's most modern terminal. Amara waits calmly, observing how other customers are served. An elegant couple enters and is immediately received with complimentary champagne. No one questions their cards or asks for special verifications. Brandon frowns, looking at the terminal screen. That's strange. Any problem? Amara approaches. The system is showing a message. Brandon shows the screen to Michelle, who approaches quickly. Transaction declined, Michelle reads aloud, loud enough for other customers to hear. Amara maintains calm. Can you try again? Sometimes there are connection problems. Sure. Brandon tries a second time. Same message. Declined again. At this moment, other employees begin approaching discreetly. The energy in the store visibly changes. Ma'am, Michelle speaks with a tone mixing false sympathy with condescension. It seems there's a problem with your card. What kind of problem? Amara asks, although she already knows where this is going. Well, Brandon exchanges glances with Michelle. The message indicates insufficient funds. An awkward silence takes over the area. The couple being served stops drinking champagne to observe. Other customers look discreetly. That's impossible, Amara responds calmly. Can you try a smaller amount to test? We can try $200, Michelle suggests with a forced smile. Brandon processes the test transaction. Declined too. $200? Repeats a younger employee, Jessica, who can't disguise her amused surprise. Wow! Amara notices the mocking tone, but maintains composure. Is there a phone I can use to call my bank? Sure, Michelle points to a phone in the corner. But maybe it's better to resolve this at home and come back another day. While Amara walks to the phone, she hears growing whispers behind her. I knew it, Brandon murmurs to Michelle. This always happens. Pretty international card, huh? Jessica comments quietly. Instagram doesn't pay bills. Amara calls her private bank. The call is answered immediately. Hello, Amara. How can I help you? Robert, I'm having trouble processing a purchase. Can you check my account? One moment. Everything's normal here. Available balance of 12 million. What's the transaction amount? 200,000. Should process without problems. Where are you trying to use it? Diamond Royale, Beverly Hills. Ah, Robert pauses. We had problems with their system yesterday. Some terminals have outdated configuration for international cards. It's a technical problem with the store. Amara hangs up and returns to the counter. The bank confirmed it's a problem with your system. The terminals need updating for international cards. Brandon and Michelle exchange glances. That's very specific, Brandon says with skepticism. That's what they informed me. Amara keeps her voice firm. Look, Michelle sighs dramatically. We've heard these stories before. System problem. Bank confirmed. Damn? What do you mean, these stories? Amara asks, her voice getting lower. It's just that Jessica approaches, clearly enjoying herself. There's always a creative excuse, right? The comment awakens muffled giggles from other employees. Amara feels her blood boil, but applies Law 16 from the 48 Laws of Power, using absence of reaction to increase respect. She won't lower herself to their level. I can try another card, Amara offers calmly, taking a second black card from her wallet. Oh, she has several, Jessica comments too loudly, provoking more giggles. How lucky! Brandon takes the second card with exaggerated caution, as if handling something suspicious. Let's see this one. Same message. Transaction declined. Oops! Jessica can no longer disguise her amusement. 2 cards with technical problems. What an incredible coincidence, Brandon adds, his voice loaded with sarcasm. Michelle decides to be more direct. Ma'am, maybe it's better for you to resolve your financial situation and come back when everything's sorted out. My financial situation? Amara repeats, slightly raising an eyebrow. It's just that $200,000 is no joke, Michelle explains condescendingly. Maybe you saw the wrong price. I saw the right price, Amara responds coldly. Then maybe, Brandon approaches with a patronizing smile, you'd like to see our more accessible options? More accessible? We have beautiful pieces in the 50, 100,000 range, Jessica suggests animatedly. Much more realistic for... She doesn't finish the sentence, but everyone knows what she was going to say. At that moment, the elegant couple approaches the adjacent counter. The man buys a Patek Philippe watch for $400,000. Payment processed in seconds. No verification. Champagne to celebrate. Interesting how the system works perfectly for other customers, Amara observes calmly. Well, they're regular customers, Michelle justifies quickly. And how does one become a regular customer if they can't make their first purchase? The question hangs in the air unanswered. Brandon decides to try a different approach. Look, we don't want to be difficult, but we've had problems before with similar situations. Similar situations? Amara asks dangerously. It's just that Jessica completely loses her filter. Someone always shows up wanting to pay with someone else's card or cloned or, Amara insists, or thinking they had a limit but don't, Brandon completes brutally. The insult is clear and public. Other customers are clearly paying attention to the embarrassing situation. I understand. Amara nods slowly. So you think I'm trying to use fraudulent cards? Nobody said that. Michelle backs down quickly. No, then what exactly are you insinuating? Uncomfortable silence. That I don't have money to pay $200,000? Amara continues, her voice maintaining elegant calm, but carrying growing authority. It's not that, Brandon stutters. Then what is it? Amara approaches the group. Explain to me, and to everyone here, what exactly the problem is. The silence now is absolute. Everyone in the store is paying attention. It's just that you... Michelle struggles to find words that don't sound discriminatory. Yes, Amara waits. You don't have the profile of our usual customers, Brandon finally admits. What profile would that be? More embarrassing silence. Jessica, completely unconscious of the hole she's digging, decides to be honest. Our customers are known business people, established folks, people who what? Amara presses. Who we know the families, Jessica explodes. Fine people who frequent the same places, who have references. References, Amara repeats slowly. Exactly. Michelle grabs onto the justification. People with history, established reputation. And I don't have established reputation. You came here out of nowhere, Brandon explains rudely, wanting to buy the most expensive pieces in the store with cards that don't work. And that automatically makes me suspicious? Not suspicious, Michelle tries to soften, but cautious. Cautious about what, specifically? Amara asks, each word carefully articulated. The group of employees look at each other, realizing they're trapped in their own words, but unable to stop. About people who... Jessica struggles not to say what she really thinks. Who what? Amara insists relentlessly. Who don't fit the profile? Brandon finally shouts, losing patience. And what exact profile don't I fit? The question echoes through the store like silent thunder, leaving everyone paralyzed. Amara picks up her purse calmly. Very interesting to discover how you really operate. She walks toward the exit but stops at the door. Oh, one last thing. She turns with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I'll be back shortly. And leaves, leaving behind a silence charged with tension. 45 minutes later, Amara returns to Diamond Royale. This time, she's not alone. 3 people accompany her: an elegantly dressed Arab man, a woman with an executive briefcase, and a discreet photographer. Brandon recognizes her immediately and his face pales. "She's back." Michelle approaches nervously. "Ma'am, good that you're back. Did you manage to resolve the problem with the bank?" "I did." Amara smiles coldly. "Actually, I resolved several things." She heads to the center of the store, her presence commanding immediate attention. The Arab man remains slightly behind her, observing everything with interest. "Everyone," Amara calls loudly, making all employees approach. "I'd like to introduce some people." Brandon, Michelle, and Jessica group together nervously. Other customers stop to observe. This is Khalil Al-Mansouri, financial director of Al-Rashid Group. Amara indicates the Arab man. "And this is Dr. Patricia Williams, our legal director." The names mean nothing to the employees, but the formal tone makes everyone uncomfortable. "Khalil," Amara continues calmly, "can you explain to them what was the problem with my cards?" Khalil steps forward with a refined Arab accent. "The problem was inadequate configuration of payment terminals for international banking cards from the Middle East. Simple technical issue." "Ah," Brandon stutters. "Technical issue?" "Yes," Khalil confirms. "Mrs. Amara's cards work perfectly anywhere in the world except here." "Strange, isn't it?" Amara comments casually. "My cards work in Dubai, London, New York, but not at Diamond Royale." Michelle tries to smile. "Well, now that we know the problem, we can process the purchase." "Oh, about that," Amara interrupts softly. "I changed my mind about buying just one set." "What do you mean?" Jessica asks, confused. Amara walks to the main display case. "I want to buy everything from this case. And that one, and also that corner one." The silence is absolute. "Everything?" Brandon whispers. "Everything. Approximately 3 million in jewelry." Amara speaks like someone ordering coffee. "Dr. Patricia, can you confirm our payment capacity?" Patricia opens her briefcase and retrieves documents. "Mrs. Amara Johnson Al-Rashid possesses liquid assets of $60 million, unlimited purchasing capacity." Michelle's legs nearly give out. 60 million? That's little compared to her husband's wealth, Khalil comments casually. Sheikh Abdullah Al-Rashid has an estimated fortune of $4 billion. Jessica stops breathing. 4 billion? Yes, Amara confirms tranquilly. But that's not the interesting part of the story. She turns to face the 3 employees, who are visibly trembling. The interesting part is that I'm CEO of Al-Rashid Holdings USA. I manage $15 billion in investments in this country. Brandon swallows hard. 15 billion. And one of our main holdings, Amara continues with dangerously calm voice, is Luxury Retail Group. Patricia consults her documents, which owns 60% of Diamond Royale's shares. The world stops. Michelle opens and closes her mouth like a fish out of water. 60% of our shares. That's right. Amara smiles with cutting coldness. I own 60% of this jewelry store. Impossible, Jessica screams, completely losing control. That's a lie. Jessica. Michelle tries to silence her, but it's too late. It is a lie. Jessica continues screaming, totally out of control. People like her don't have all that money. It's all fake. The silence that follows is sepulchral. People like me? Amara asks with icy voice. Jessica realizes what she said, but can't stop anymore. Yes, people who appear out of nowhere pretending to be rich. Pretending. Amara approaches her slowly. Pretending, yes! Jessica explodes completely. You think we're idiots? A black woman with billions, married to an Arab sheikh, that only exists in movies? The explicit racism echoes through the entire store. Customers are shocked. Employees recoil, horrified. Amara stops in front of Jessica. Continue. I won't continue anything. I don't believe this charade. Jessica screams desperately. Cloned card, fake documents, all lies. Dr. Patricia, Amara says calmly, are you recording? Every word, Patricia confirms, showing a professional recorder. Amara turns to Brandon and Michelle. And you? Do you agree with your colleague? Brandon is pale as paper. Mrs. Amara, we answer. Amara orders with absolute authority. Do you believe a black woman can't have billions? No, Michelle screams desperately. We don't think that. No. Amara raises an eyebrow. Then explain the treatment I received. Deadly silence. Explain why my cards were questioned, why you laughed when they didn't work, why you suggested more accessible options. No one can answer. Explain why I don't have the profile of usual customers. Amara continues relentlessly. More silence. It's because I'm black, Amara states simply. Isn't it? No, Michelle protests weakly. Then what is it? Amara presses. Tell me what exactly is the difference between me and your other customers. No one dares respond. Amara takes her phone. Khalil, can you call the office? I want an emergency meeting with all Diamond Royale directors tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Of course, Mrs. Amara. She turns to the terrified employees. You just gave me the best lesson about institutional racism I've ever witnessed. Mrs. Amara, please, Brandon begs. Please what? Amara asks coldly. You publicly humiliated me, laughed in my face, questioned my dignity. It was a misunderstanding. It was racism. Amara finally raises her voice, echoing through the entire store. And now you're going to discover what happens when you discriminate against your own boss. She walks toward the exit but stops at the door. Oh, and Jessica, she turns one last time. People like me really exist. And now you're going to discover exactly who we are. And leaves, leaving behind a silence that seems to announce the apocalypse. The next day, at 9 in the morning, Amara convened an emergency meeting with all Diamond Royale directors. 15 executives gathered, not knowing they were facing the majority owner. Yesterday I was humiliated at the Beverly Hills store, Amara began, with controlled but furious voice. They laughed at me when my cards didn't work, treated me like a criminal. She played the audio recordings. 40 minutes of explicit discrimination, malicious laughter, and Jessica's racist comments echoing through the room. When she finished, Amara was visibly angry. 60 years after the Civil Rights Act, a black woman still needs to prove she has money. Dr. Patricia, inform the decisions. Jessica Martinez, Brandon Thompson, and Michelle Davis fired for cause, documented racial discrimination. CEO Robert Silver tried to protest. Mrs. Amara, these are very drastic measures. Drastic? Amara exploded, slamming her hand on the table. You know what's drastic? Any person, billionaire or not, being treated like a criminal for being black. No one deserves that. Her voice reverberated through the room. I have $15 billion in assets, but that shouldn't matter. A person with $500 in their pocket deserves the same respect. Robert was trembling. Mrs. Amara, we'll resolve. You'll resolve nothing, Amara shouted. You created a culture of hate in this company, and now you'll pay the price. At that moment, Jessica Martinez was escorted into the room by security. She had been summoned for formal termination. When she saw Amara, Jessica rolled her eyes. Oh, the madam returned. The silence in the room was sepulchral. Excuse me? Amara stood up slowly. Look, Jessica crossed her arms arrogantly. I'm not going to apologize for doing my job. You came there with a card that didn't work, wanting to buy expensive stuff. My job, Amara screamed, approaching her. Your job is to humiliate customers. My job is to protect the store from scammers. Jessica fought back without a hint of remorse. And you had all the characteristics of someone trying to run a scam. What characteristics? Amara was beside herself. You know very well, Jessica screamed back, totally out of control. Black woman alone, suspicious international card, wanting to buy jewelry worth almost $250,000. Suspicious because I'm black, Amara exploded. Suspicious because it's obvious. Jessica lost any filter. How many people like you can afford to pay $200,000 on jewelry? Let's be realistic. The directors were shocked by Jessica's arrogance. People like me? Amara was shaking with rage. Yes, people like you. Jessica continued digging her own grave. I won't pretend it's normal for a black woman to have billions. That doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, Amara screamed. No, and if it exists, it's because she married a rich Arab, not because she deserved it. Jessica fired the final insult. What followed was deadly silence. Amara took a deep breath, regaining control with superhuman effort. Dr. Patricia, besides termination, what other legal measures can we take? Lawsuit for moral damages, qualified racial injury, and discrimination in commercial establishment. Penalty, 2 to 5 years in prison. Jessica finally paled. Prison? That's right, Jessica, Amara said with cutting coldness. You just committed a hate crime in front of 15 witnesses. I'm not racist, Jessica screamed desperately. You're not? Amara laughed sarcastically. Then repeat in front of everyone, black women can be billionaires by their own merit. Jessica opened and closed her mouth, unable to pronounce the words. Can't? Amara asked with venom in her voice. Then you are racist indeed. Dr. Patricia, sue her. I want her to become an example. 3 weeks later, the results were devastating. Jessica fired, prosecuted, and sentenced to 3 years for racial harassment. Brandon and Michelle, fired, registered for discrimination. Robert Silver, replaced by black female CEO. 12 managers fired and replaced Diamond Royale. First jewelry store with anti-racism certification. Jessica lost everything. Job, reputation, freedom. She serves time in minimum security prison. Brandon works as a salesperson in a discount store. Michelle moved to another state. Diamond Royale had the best year in its history. Diversity attracted new customers and international investors. Amara finally bought the diamond set. The new black female manager treated her like the royalty she always was. At the consulate dinner, wearing the jewelry, Amara declared, I transform my humiliation into revolution. Now, 200 black employees work at Diamond Royale. 6 months later, the transformation was complete, and the justice was poetic. Jessica Martinez never recovered from her fall. The viral video of her racist tirade had over 8 million views, with her name permanently attached. She served 18 months in minimum security prison, where fellow inmates constantly reminded her that she'd attacked a billionaire. Upon release, no retail establishment would hire her. She now works night shifts at a gas station in rural Nevada, where customers occasionally recognize her as that racist jewelry lady. Brandon Thompson lost his career in luxury retail. The discrimination charge followed him everywhere, making him unemployable in high-end sales. He works part-time at a mall kiosk, selling phone accessories to teenagers who earn more in allowance than his weekly paycheck. Michelle Davis filed for bankruptcy after 8 months of unemployment. Her mortgage went into foreclosure, and she had to move back with her elderly parents in Ohio. The woman who once judged others by their appearance now lived in constant fear of being recognized and judged herself. But the real shock came when the full scope of Amara's empire was revealed. Breaking news, announced CNN anchor Anderson Cooper. Sheikh Abdullah Al-Rashid and his wife Amara Johnson Al-Rashid have announced a $500 million investment in American luxury retail with a focus on diversity and inclusion. The irony was exquisite. The woman they'd humiliated was reshaping the entire industry that had rejected her. Standing in the renovated Diamond Royale flagship store in Beverly Hills, Amara addressed a crowd of reporters and industry leaders. This space represents more than luxury retail. It represents the future of American business, where excellence is measured by character, not color. Mrs. Al-Rashid, called a Wall Street Journal reporter, critics say you're using your wealth to buy acceptance rather than earn it. Amara's eyes flashed with the fire of generations. Buy acceptance? I built a $15 billion empire before I ever set foot in Diamond Royale. The only thing I bought was justice. What message do you have for other businesses? Asked a Forbes journalist. Simple, Amara said, her voice carrying the weight of transformation. Evolve or become extinct. The old ways, where prejudice masqueraded as policy, where assumptions mattered more than assets, those days are over. The real climax came during the grand reopening of Diamond Royale 1 year after the original incident. The store was magnificent. Updated technology, diverse staff, and a dignity wall featuring photos of successful people from all backgrounds. The team was 75% people of color, creating an atmosphere of genuine welcome that customers immediately felt. But the opening event itself was the ultimate power move. Ladies and gentlemen, Amara announced to 600 of America's most powerful people, welcome to the new Diamond Royale. This is the exact spot where I was told I didn't belong. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. 12 months ago, in this very room, 3 employees laughed at me, questioned my dignity, and assumed I was a criminal. Tonight, those employees are unemployed, and this room belongs to me. Thunderous applause erupted. But this isn't about revenge. It's about revolution. Look around you. Senators, CEOs, celebrities, entrepreneurs, all races, all backgrounds, all here because talent transcends melanin and success speaks every language. Standing in the back, barely visible in a catering uniform, was Jessica Martinez. She had somehow obtained work through a temp agency, desperate for any income to pay legal fees. Amara spotted her immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, Amara continued, her voice cutting through the room like a blade, I want you to meet someone special tonight. Jessica froze in absolute terror. Jessica Martinez, would you please step forward? Every head turned. Jessica tried to hide behind a pillar, but security gently guided her to the front. This is the woman who told me people like me don't have billions, Amara announced with surgical calm. Who said black women with wealth only exist in movies? Who assumed my international cards were fraudulent because of my skin color? The room was dead silent. Tonight, Jessica is serving champagne at my event, in my store, because karma isn't just a concept, it's a mathematical certainty. Jessica was crying, humiliated before the most powerful people in America. But I'm not cruel, Amara continued. Jessica, you can finish working tonight. Consider it a masterclass in how service works when you treat all people with dignity. The crowd erupted in applause while Jessica fled to the kitchen in shame. The moment went viral within minutes. Jessica Serves trended worldwide, with millions sharing the poetic justice of a racist server now working for her former victim. But Amara wasn't finished. Al-Rashid Holdings is announcing tonight a $100 million fund for minority-owned businesses, she declared. We're also launching the Dignity Initiative, a certification program for businesses that prove their commitment to equality. Companies that pass our audit get the Excellence Seal. Those that don't, she paused dramatically, well, they end up unemployed like Jessica. The revolution was complete. One woman's refusal to accept discrimination had transformed an entire industry, created new standards for business ethics, and proved that dignity, when backed by billions, is unstoppable. Standing in her own store, surrounded by America's elite, Amara raised a glass of Dom Perignon. To everyone who thinks people like me can't own the building, we don't just own it, we redesigned it. 3 years later, the transformation was complete and irreversible. Jessica Martinez never escaped her infamy. The viral humiliation followed her across state lines. She eventually moved to a small town in Montana, working occasional restaurant shifts when employers didn't Google her name. The woman who once mocked others for their financial status now lived paycheck to paycheck, a fallen retail worker whose racism had cost her everything. Brandon Thompson remained unemployed in luxury retail. He worked security at a strip mall in suburban Phoenix, watching teenagers buy jewelry he could no longer afford. His discrimination record made him untouchable in high-end sales. Michelle Davis never recovered financially or professionally. She worked part-time at a discount chain store, folding clothes for minimum wage, while her former colleagues became millionaires in the diversity boom she'd helped create. Meanwhile, Amara Johnson Al-Rashid became the most influential woman in American luxury retail. Diamond Royale expanded to 50 locations nationwide, each store featuring diverse staff and the company's signature Dignity Promise. The chain had a 6-month waiting list for premium pieces and commanded prices that surpassed Tiffany & Co. The Dignity Initiative certified over 2,000 businesses nationwide. Companies fought for the Excellence Seal, knowing it guaranteed access to America's multicultural elite. Businesses that failed the diversity audit found themselves quietly blacklisted from major contracts. Most importantly, the incident sparked industry-wide change. Discriminatory practices became business suicide as social media amplified every instance of bias. Business schools began teaching the Diamond Royale case study as required curriculum. Amara's final victory came when Time magazine named her Person of the Year. The cover story was titled, "How One Moment of Racism Rebuilt American Retail." At the award ceremony, Amara said, "They thought they were putting me in my place. Instead, I built a better place for everyone." Discrimination isn't just morally bankrupt, it's economically obsolete. Stories like Amara's expose the ongoing reality of racism in luxury businesses across America. Black professionals still face automatic suspicion, having their wealth questioned and dignity challenged. The difference is not everyone has Amara's resources to fight back. That's why we must document discrimination, support victims, and demand accountability. If this story moved you, like and share this video. Subscribe for more stories about justice and empowerment. Comment below. Have you experienced or witnessed similar discrimination? How did you respond? Together we can transform outrage into action and action into lasting change. Because dignity isn't negotiable and equality isn't optional in America.